Catholic Conversations on Catholic Spirit Radio.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Catholic Conversations on Catholic Spirit Radio. I'm your host, Paul Garcia, and today we have an exciting story to share with you. It's all about the power of community, faith, and technology, and how it's expanded Catholic radio in central Illinois. A few years ago, Bill Spencer from Clinton noticed there was no reception for Catholic radio in his town. With help from parishioners in Clinton and Wapella, they raised enough money to fund an antenna, bringing Catholic radio to both communities. He's in the studio today along with Peggy Price, who started the Holy Family Catholic Radio in Champaign-Urbana. And Judy Weber-Jones is also here, and she helped run that station for a decade. Now their listeners have joined the Catholic Spirit Radio Network, creating a larger, stronger network. And at the heart of all this growth is another guest in studio today, and that is John Hall, the lead man at the Catholic Spirit Radio Network. And he quickly says, when I said this before, that Jesus is a true lead man at the network. But anyway, John has an incredible calling to expand Catholic radio. He's the reason so much of this was possible, and using his experience and expertise, he ensures that Catholic radio reaches more homes and more hearts. Today, we will dive into their stories and their important roles in making Catholic radio available to so many people. With that said, thank you all very much. And Bill, I want to ask you, when did you realize that Clinton needed Catholic radio, and how did the community raise the funds to get the antenna that they needed?
Most of it was when I was traveling for work that I do. I was traveling north or south, and I could always get a radio station that had Spirit Radio on it. But once I went back home to DeWitt County, there was poor reception or no reception at all for Spirit Radio.
And so what did you do to get the ball rolling on getting an antenna so more people could hear Catholic radio?
The first thing I did was contact people at Spirit Radio, see if they were interested in developing another station in DeWitt County. That's the first step I took.
Mm-hmm. And what then was the next step? I assume they said, yes, we're interested, or what was the series of events that followed that?
We were trying to decide what type of transmitter, what type of FCC license that we were going to need, how long it was going to take to get one licensed, and what our choices were. We were thinking about doing a transmitter is what the people in DeWitt County wanted to do, and just retransmit what was being transmitted in like the Bloomington channel.
Okay. And for listeners who wonder about the importance of an antenna and radio and everything like that, you can think of an antenna like a lighthouse, but for radio waves. Just as a lighthouse shines its light far and wide to guide ships safely, an antenna broadcasts signals far and wide for radios to pick up. Without a powerful antenna, the radio signal would be weak and wouldn't reach many listeners, just like a lighthouse with a dim light can't be seen from very far away. So the bigger and the taller the antenna, the farther the signal can go, ensuring that more people have access to the broadcast. Antenna sizes vary widely. They can be a few feet tall to tens of feet tall, hundreds of feet tall sometimes, and they can really range in price. So, Bill, what was the price? What type of dollar signs were you looking at when you were considering getting an antenna?
I don't think money's really the main deal with it, because you can always drive money up through donations. But it was a question of what type of license could we get and when could we get it. That's what was the hard part.
Okay. And so remind me again, what are the different types of licenses that you could get?
Well, if you had your own station, that would be one type, and you would have to have a frequency then assigned to you. But if you were like a relay station, that there could be, you're tagged on to another frequency. You wouldn't have your own call numbers then.
Okay, understood. And the community, from what I understand, really came together to raise the funds for the antenna. Of course, the dollars might not be important, the exact ones, but how did they come together to raise that money?
As soon as they knew that there was an opening for a frequency, that we could have our own call numbers in DeWitt County, they came together quite quick and wanted to go forward with it. There wasn't any opposition. They thought it was a great idea. So,
And why do you think that is, that they were so ready to support a cause like that and donate or help out?
I think that they were hungry for Catholic radio too in the community. And that's not just Catholics, but other people were interested in it too. So,
And what are the Catholic churches in your area?
there's only 3 Catholic churches in DeWitt County. One's in Farmer City, one's in Wapella, and one in Clinton. And they're joined all together now under one priest. So we're somewhat like a single parish now.
Wow. Okay. Well, that can really drive home that idea of community when they're all forced to come together, really, under
Yes.
one priest. So that is wonderful. And we're so glad that we've expanded in that direction. And Peggy, I want to ask you now, can you share how you felt called to start the radio station that you did in Champaign-Urbana, the Holy Family Catholic Radio?
Well, I hadn't watched Mother Angelica until we moved up here. When we moved to Urbana, I started watching it, and it increased my faith, and it gave me such joy that I heard her talking about radio stations and starting radio stations. And I thought that was an exciting thing, but I didn't do anything about it. And then when I was praying, I heard God say, start a radio station. When I say that, when I hear God's voice, it's something in my mind that's not mine. I don't know how to explain it more than that, but it's there, and it's not my thought. And so I started out saying, you know what? I'm really old. I'm in a wheelchair. I don't know how I can do this. I know nothing about radio. So that I kind of pushed that away. Well, then he said it again. And I said, I'm not good with money. I have no money. I don't know how we would start a radio station with no money. I called EWTN, and the guy that answered said $2 million. And I said, well, I can't do that. And he said, oh, I was just kidding. So that was pretty much the end of our conversation. And then the third time God said, start a radio station, I said, really, I don't know people in Champaign-Urbana. I just moved up here. I don't know who I would talk to. And I said, but I'll make one call. I called the diocese, and they had no idea. They told me to call the newspaper. They had really no idea, but they said, maybe there's a man called Alan Drake that has a station in Peoria. And he said, why don't you call him? So I called him. He wasn't there. I left a message, and he called back immediately. And Judy and Joan happened to be there for a Curcio meeting. And he said, well, I wanted to start a radio station there, but I didn't know anybody that could be a board for the station. And I said, you guys want to be a board? And they said, sure. And he said, okay, we're doing it. And so we made an appointment to meet together, and he just forked over the money.
Wow.
Yeah. And he knew all about, he drew, where this signal comes from and how it gets out on the radio. Well, that meant nothing to us. We were just lost. He said, but just depend on me. I know what I'm doing. I've done it before. And so we just depended on him. And he pretty much ran the thing. And didn't he have the computer at his house? Yeah. He had the computer at his house, and when it went out, he fixed it. When there wasn't a signal, he let us know. If we ran out of money, he gave us some more.
That's incredible. Now, did you have a background in marketing, broadcasting, journalism, anything like that might have to do with radio? No.
No, I did not.
That is incredible.
I was a mom, and I worked at the library part-time. That was it. That's why I thought it was an idiotic idea that he would ask me to do it.
Right. Isn't that so funny how, I've heard God doesn't call those who are able. He makes able those who are called.
Right.
And it is almost hilarious that he calls you to do something like this, so out of your element.
Yeah.
Very fascinating. It's a lot
out of my element is a very good way to describe it.
I mean, Mother Angelica, typically you don't think of nuns
Mm-hmm.
going on to make big tech companies that change the world.
Right,
So
right.
that's really, really interesting. And I thank you for sharing the story of the founding of that beautiful radio station. That was the Holy Family Catholic radio
Yes.
station.
Yes.
And now, Judy, I'd like to ask you, what was your experience like at that radio station, the Holy Family Catholic radio station? You were on the board. Obviously, we heard a little bit about the challenges you had. Were there more challenges? What was your experience like?
Well, just like Peggy said, you just trust that the Lord will provide. And he always did, whether it be funding or whether it be anything that we did. There were a lot of challenges that we had along the way. Like I said, Alan was running this from El Paso. And even when he went on vacation in Florida, he was still able to reboot us back up and get us back on track. So Alan took care of all the engineering part for us. But when Peggy asked Joan and I to be on the board with her, there was no hesitation, because there's no better feeling that you get when you get that calling to help spread the word to everybody around. And the thing that, and like I said, no better feeling that you get when somebody comes up to you and says, I listen to the radio all the time. It's drawn me closer and increased my spiritual life. And you just get the warm fuzzies all over on that, because that's why we're here, to help serve other people.
And, I don't want to act like Alan gave all the money. The parishioners really supported it, and they really loved it. One lady got rid of her TV when we brought the radio station there. She said, that's all I need.
Oh, that's incredible. And that makes it all worth it. All that struggle, all that, being out of your element, requesting money. That's not always fun. In fact, rarely is that very fun. Yeah.
Yeah, I found that we had a lot of people that would donate regularly to the radio station as well. But we had second collections through the church and different things that we had to help. And everybody always stepped up. They'd come up to you at the daily mass and ask you, do you have enough money for the radio station? Because it was so important to them, just like it was us, to get the word out to everybody, to increase their faith.
It seems like a core theme of all these stories is just the community coming together, from the people in the Clinton area to the people in the Champaign parishes. They just come together and they seem to want Catholic radio. I think that's really interesting. And I'm curious, do you think that there's more of a call or a desire for Catholic radio than maybe we're aware of in America? And you know what, Bill, I want to start with you. What do you think? Do you think there's more of a need, a thirst for this than maybe we're aware?
Well, I remember in the 90s, EWTN was on satellite. That's one of the ways that you could actually receive it. And I think that's where it really spread. It went across the country then, because people could actually get it everywhere. Nowadays, we've got computers and technology. The satellites quite aren't that important anymore. And so, radio and internet and stuff is open for a lot more for people. And sometimes it's easier not to be on a keyboard and just to listen is a lot better than, dependent on the internet for all your information too.
Oh, absolutely. I could not agree more. Radio is so beneficial. It's so wonderful. And when you're in the car, you're not going to be on your computer. Hopefully, not that a lot of people aren't, or on those little computers that you can put in your pocket that we call phones. But I want to ask a few more questions to you guys when we come back in just a second. I want to ask about the response from the community a little more. And I want to ask our other guest, John, just a little bit about how Catholic Spirit Radio, the Catholic Spirit Radio Network at that, got started and his role in starting all of that. All that in just one moment. But first, we have to say thank you to our beloved sponsors. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Catholic Conversations on Catholic Spirit Radio.
Sunday, October 6th at 2 p.m., Rosary and Hot Cocoa. Join Catholic Spirit Radio in Normal for our outdoor Rosary event. We will pray the glorious mysteries in conjunction with Rosary Coast to Coast. Parking opens at 1 for Hot Cocoa, station tours, giveaways, and more. The Rosary begins at 2 in our parking lot under the illuminated Rosary. Bring your lawn chairs, rosaries, family, and friends. Special parking for those remaining in vehicles. The event will move inside if inclement weather. Rosary and Hot Cocoa on October 6th.
Here's a great way to support the Catholic Spirit Radio Network at no cost to you. When you plan to buy or sell a house, call Real Estate for Life. Real Estate for Life connects you with a Christ-centered, experienced agent from your area. Go to realestateforlife.org or call 877-543-3871. Don't forget to mention that you heard about this on Catholic Spirit Radio. realestateforlife.org.
Hey, this is Father Mitch Pacwa, host of Open Line Wednesday. For me, Catholic radio is a chance to speak and hear our Catholic doctrine, consider it, think about it, apply it to everyday life, and be blatantly in the public with it. And I am so thankful to you for being an important part of the Lord's plan. By participating and listening, invite others to listen.
Good news! The Champaign-Urbana area is the newest community where Catholic Spirit Radio can now be heard. Welcome to our new Champaign listeners, tuning in to 88.3 FM radio and using our app, Catholic Spirit Talk Radio.
We're glad that you're listening to Catholic Spirit Radio. Help support this nonprofit radio apostolate by becoming a regular monthly donor. As Mother Angelica said, keep us between your gas and electric bills. Donate monthly at CatholicSpiritRadio.com.
Catholic Spirit Radio wants you to know we have a presence on Facebook and on X. You're the heart of Catholic Spirit Radio. Keep in touch. Follow us on Facebook and on X.
Landon, can I listen to Catholic Spirit Radio on Alexa?
You bet, Grandpa. It's easy to set up and use. First, tell Alexa to enable the Catholic Spirit Radio skill.
Alexa, enable the Catholic Spirit Radio skill.
And from that time on, all you have to say is, Alexa, play Catholic Spirit Radio.
Alexa, play Catholic Spirit Radio. That's it?
Yep.
You're right. That is easy. Thanks.
Love you, Grandpa.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to part 2 of 3 of Catholic Conversations on Catholic Spirit Radio. I am your host, Paul Garcia, and we are talking all about the beauty of radio and how community and faith can play a role in making technology work for the good of the Catholic faith and the well-being and good of all who listen to Catholic Spirit Radio and Catholic radio in general. I am joined by Bill Spencer and Judy Weber-Jones, as well as Peggy Price. And I want to ask now another guest we have here, John Hall, who is the founder and the lead man here at Catholic Spirit Radio. Just about, John, how did you, and why maybe, did you come to found Catholic Spirit Radio? It's quite the operation here. Tons of work goes into this, and you have enough going on already. So how did this all begin? When? Tell me all about it.
Paul, it was probably mid-2000s. I had heard Terry and Jesse on EWTN and on Covenant Network. I was working for another company, and I thought, wow, they're great. And I listened on and off to EWTN radio in my travels for work. Sort of over the next few years, I guess God had been calling me, sort of a little voice in my head. You know, we need Catholic radio. You need to do Catholic radio. You need to put Catholic radio on a station. Instead, I wanted to put a music radio station on because I like Christian music, but God said no. And sort of that's how Catholic Spirit Radio came about. God kept hounding me, I guess. And he convinced me that that's what was needed. And against my wills, he just kept working on me. Mm-hmm. God and Mother Angelica, you know.
And you say it so humbly, of course, and you have done such great work here at Catholic Spirit Radio.
I don't do any of the work. God does it all, and God provides whatever we need.
I love that.
We sort of operate just like how Mother Angelica did. God sort of directs what goes on, and we just move forward. We move forward.
What can you say, though, about it's insane support that you've gotten from listeners? It seems that whenever finances are needed for a big operation, somehow it comes together, even if it seems like it came together at the last second. Is that true, first of all? And how does that feel when you're going through it?
God provides. When we started out, there were some times where it was scary and I would be scared. I'd be like, I don't know where we're going to come up with this money to pay the power bill. And some of our main transmitter, the power bill is $700 there. It's not cheap. And sometimes I'd just be like, I don't know how that's going to happen, but God provided every month. And it's in God's hand. If he wants it to work, it will work. And he has definitely bless Catholic Spirit Radio.
So where does the majority of funding for this great station come from?
Direct donations from listeners.
Really?
Yep.
Do they stop in and just drop off a check, or?
They donate online, they donate at events. It just
no grants from the state.
No grants from the state, no grants, of course, from the diocese.
And
although I will say Catholic Radio would be money well spent for the diocese, but I won't go any further there.
The diocese doesn't give any money to Catholic Spirit Radio.
No, but we are blessed. We have been blessed over the years to be able to go to parishes, a few parishes in Bloomington Normal, and have a special collection taken.
Understood. And now, slightly different from Peggy, and this is my last question for you, John. I'll have tortured you enough at this point. But slightly different from Peggy, you do have a background in a relevant field, considering that this is radio technology, and what is your background? I know you're a tech savant.
Broadcast engineer. I take care of 30 different radio stations. I've built numerous radio stations, a lot of non-commercial, a lot of commercial stations. That's what I've done really since I've been 5 years old, but Catholic radio was probably the last place I thought I would be. When I was a kid, I watched WKRP in Cincinnati. And I don't know if you're familiar with that, Paul, but probably some of the other listeners are. And that's sort of what I wanted to do.
Incredible.
At that point, I maybe even didn't want to be an engineer. I wanted to be on the air, but I quickly learned that I didn't have the talent for that.
Well, I say you're speaking pretty darn good so far, but what an incredible story that is. And John, we just thank you so much for everything you do, or that you can say that God does through you. We really appreciate it. And now, Bill, I'd like to ask you then, and we touched on it briefly, what has the community response been to now being able to hear Catholic radio across greater distances?
Some of the parishioners have said that they've started listening to it and enjoy it every day.
Wow.
So they're using it. It's out there for them.
Very nice. And I want to ask you then, John, sorry about that. Peggy, how did it feel transitioning your listeners from the Holy Family Catholic Radio to Catholic Spirit Radio Network? Was it a seamless transition? Was it complicated?
It was pretty seamless because we didn't know what was happening. And I was thrilled because we don't have the knowledge that we need. Alan Drake, who was doing everything for us, he's getting older. He was taking care of both of his parents. And I was thinking, what's going to happen? I can't even take care of myself. I need my husband to take care of me. So I just was thrilled that we were going to still have radio and we weren't in charge of it. It was honestly a gift from God. It really was.
Wow. And Judy, I didn't know, did you want to add something to that?
Yeah, it's kind of come full circle because when we started in 2015, we came to Catholic Spirit Radio to ask them what we needed to do to get things started. And then now it's all right back, where it should be, where it's bigger and better, and we can have more people hearing the word, and a blessing with the apps and Alexa and X with our Champaign-Urbana, University of Illinois students. We all know that our young folks need to get more religion in their life. And what better way than through Catholic radio to get the truth about what's going on. I did want to also mention about the support from St. Matthew's has been incredible. They've had second collections, Change to Change, and St. Boniface as well. And through Monsignor Deptula, I know Father Pica is the one who blessed our equipment when we first got started, and now Father John. We have since moved the radio station from El Paso, where Alan Drake had it, to St. Matthew's. It's actually at St. Matthew's, right close to Feeney Hall there. So it's just been a blessing that we can reach more people and give them the truth, and as far as Catholic radio.
Now, something regarding the Catholic word and how it's being broadcasted, I would think, and you just disagree with me if you'd like, that basically the teachings and the way we say things, especially in the media as Catholics, has changed drastically since, say, the 70s even. It used to be more orthodox, more traditional, maybe more strict if you wanted to call it something else. But now I think it's so important that stations like Catholic Spirit Radio and the Catholic Spirit Radio Network and the Holy Family Catholic Radio, like they did, it's important that we still hear more of it, that traditional Catholic teachings being preached as they should be. A lot of time today, I feel like we think of Jesus as being a girlfriend who braids your hair and says you're awesome, you can't make any bad decisions, and all that stuff. What do you guys think about that and the importance of preaching the word in a traditional or orthodox manner? And I'll start with you, Peggy.
I believe that the teaching we received, I'm 72, the teaching we received when we were younger was solid. It asked a question and it gave you an answer. And then the conversation went on from there. And I think in the 80s and 90s when I was teaching catechism, it was not that way. It was mostly social justice. There were no answers, solid answers. It just, people are hungry to hear the doctrines and what they mean and how to live them.
Absolutely. I could not agree more. And when social justice issues start to trump the issue of salvation, getting to heaven for eternity and not hell, that's an issue. And there are some people high up in the church, I won't name any names, who seem to be more concerned with issues of the world rather than issues of the individual soul. I think that's a big deal that we need to be concerned about as Catholics. Bill, what do you think? Where did you go to high school? I don't know. Did you grow up Catholic?
Yes, I was baptized at St. Pat's in Peoria.
Okay. And did you attend a Catholic high school or anything?
I went to grade school there and high school too in Peoria.
And was this a co-ed school? Was it boys and girls or?
Spalding and Academy of Our Lady were separated.
Oh, that's right.
Two schools, yes.
Now, that's very interesting. I hear that used to be more common than it is today, an all-boys school or an all-girls school. And I heard that nuns used to be pretty tough and strict in the classroom. Is that all true?
Yes, I was taught by nuns and stuff in grade school. It was pretty strict.
And what was the education like then? And how do you think it might compare to today's teaching? Maybe even in a Catholic school. Of course, they vary. Some are more traditional or orthodox and by the book than others.
I think that morals and values, today may not be as strong as they were back then as far as being taught by a teacher, especially in public schools. So there's probably a lot of people wanting to send their schools to, their kids to Catholic schools just so they get a moral upbringing that's correct.
Absolutely. And Judy, you've worked in schools. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was a Fellowship of Christian Athletes and coach at Gibson City, Melbourne Zipley High School.
Okay. And if you don't mind me asking, how long have you done that for?
Well, I taught for 38 years, 31 GCMS. And then the rest of my time, I retired and then unretired and went another 7 years at Urbana High School.
Okay. So you've had a firsthand look at the evolution of the mind and the actions of kids in school. Has it changed since when you first began teaching to now? Do they act different? Do they need to hear the word more or not less, but?
Absolutely. And we were blessed at GCMS in the fact that we started the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. We had a student that had passed away and he had went to a Fellowship of Christian Athletes camp. And from that camp, he came back on fire for Jesus. And so when he was tragically, he wasn't supposed to go to the camp that year, but somebody, the Lord works in mysterious ways. He wasn't supposed to go to camp that year, but another person had backed out. So he went and he came back on fire for Jesus. And then he was died in a car crash. And from that, we wanted his legacy to live on and we wanted FCA to become powerful. So GCMS is kind of the exception to the rule in the fact that we were able to have a golf outing and send kids to leadership camp. Now we not only have it at the high school, we now have it for our junior high kids, train the elementary kids. So we have 3rd through 8th grade that are also going to camp. So it's kind of a different situation. I thank Bonnie and Randy Aarons for all that they did on letting us take that to another level as far as impacting kids for life. And his legacy is still living on by the number of people that he has impacted through Fellowship of Christian Athletes. Yeah.
That is really incredible. God bless the soul of that young man. And you said Bonnie and Aaron were a big part of all that.
Bonnie Aarons and Randy Aarons. Yeah,
Bonnie and Randy.
Yeah, Bonnie and Randy Aarons were the ones that was one of the toughest decisions, or one of the toughest things I ever had to do, was ask them if we could share their story and platform. And we use that also for teen safe driving. It got national recognition as far as helping kids to drive safely too. So it helped in different ways. It not only helped them to be safe drivers, but his legacy also helped them to know God's word.
That's
and get closer to Christ.
Incredible. The amount of good, the amount of souls that have been saved.
Exactly.
From that man's memory and his legacy, unbelievable. His parents should be incredibly proud. And I'm going to ask a few more questions here to all of you about the future of America, maybe, and also our radio stations. All that in just one moment. But first, here are a few words from our beloved sponsors. We will be right back.
You're listening to Catholic Conversations on Catholic Spirit Radio.
Sunday, October 6th at 2 p.m., Rosary and Hot Cocoa. Join Catholic Spirit Radio in Normal for our outdoor Rosary event. We will pray the glorious mysteries in conjunction with Rosary Coast to Coast. Parking opens at 1 for Hot Cocoa, station tours, giveaways, and more. The Rosary begins at 2 in our parking lot under the illuminated Rosary. Bring your lawn chairs, rosaries, family, and friends. Special parking for those remaining in vehicles. The event will move inside if inclement weather. Rosary and Hot Cocoa on October 6th.
Here's a great way to support the Catholic Spirit Radio Network at no cost to you. When you plan to buy or sell a house, call Real Estate for Life. Real Estate for Life connects you with a Christ-centered, experienced agent from your area. Go to realestateforlife.org or call 877-543-3871. Don't forget to mention that you heard about this on Catholic Spirit Radio. realestateforlife.org.
Hey, this is Father Mitch Pacwa, host of Open Line Wednesday. For me, Catholic radio is a chance to speak and hear our Catholic doctrine, consider it, think about it, apply it to everyday life, and be blatantly in the public with it. And I am so thankful to you for being an important part of the Lord's plan. By participating and listening, invite others to listen.
Good news! The Champaign-Urbana area is the newest community where Catholic Spirit Radio can now be heard. Welcome to our new Champaign listeners, tuning in to 88.3 FM radio and using our app, Catholic Spirit Talk Radio.
We're glad that you're listening to Catholic Spirit Radio. Help support this nonprofit radio apostolate by becoming a regular monthly donor. As Mother Angelica said, keep us between your gas and electric bills. Donate monthly at CatholicSpiritRadio.com.
Catholic Spirit Radio wants you to know we have a presence on Facebook and on X. You're the heart of Catholic Spirit Radio. Keep in touch. Follow us on Facebook and on X.
Landon, can I listen to Catholic Spirit Radio on Alexa?
You bet, Grandpa. It's easy to set up and use. First, tell Alexa to enable the Catholic Spirit Radio skill.
Alexa, enable the Catholic Spirit Radio skill.
And from that time on, all you have to say is, Alexa, play Catholic Spirit Radio.
Alexa, play Catholic Spirit Radio. That's it?
Yep.
You're right. That is easy. Thanks.
Love you, Grandpa.
Hello, this is Steve Gleason with your 1-minute tool for Catholic evangelism. Here's the question for your non-Catholic friend. Has it been your understanding that Constantine officially founded the Catholic Church in 325 AD? Well, here's your 3 best friendship tools for Catholic evangelism. Number 1, history. The Catholic Church was officially founded when the Holy Spirit descended upon the apostles, as recorded in Acts 1:8. From that time forward, persecution tragically began, and some 250 years later, enter Constantine. Secondly, the Edict of Milan. The edict was this great and notable work of Constantine, and thank God for him and for this this edict. Why? It made legal the practice of Christianity. It ordered Romans to return confiscated church property, and it saved thousands upon thousands of innocent lives. And thirdly, my analogy. There was a time in your calm neighborhood that everyone felt secure, but suddenly criminals entered, possessions were stolen, and homes were vandalized. What if your mayor made a decree, an edict, that the criminals would be captured, punished, and possessions returned? You know that mayor of yours? His name is Constantine. Find me on Smarty Pants Catholic Evangelism.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Catholic Conversations on Catholic Spirit Radio. I am Paul Garcia, your host, and I'm speaking with Peggy Price, Judy Weber-Jones, and Bill Spencer, as well as John Hall. We were just talking all about, the Orthodox teachings of the church and why that's important. And I want to ask, and I'll start with you, Bill, why is Catholic radio, such a valuable resource for communities? Why does this matter?
Well, I think it kind of goes back to when I first started this. A group of people, we were at a meeting and I brought it up and they said something about, today we've got computers and technology and stuff, other choices than listening to the radio. And their attitude was kind of like, well, radio's going to go away. And they're finding out now that's not true. Radio's just as strong today as it ever has been, if not stronger. And that's I think it's going to be here for a long time. And I think the number of people that want to listen to it, that number is going to grow too. So as we see the growth in people in the church, that's just going to support the radio even more.
Absolutely. And that's something I think people don't realize is, especially young people, they think of radio and they think of got to find the right station on that little boxy contraption with the antenna or just your car radio. But we're on Amazon Alexa, we're on Spotify, we're on Apple Podcasts. You can listen to us any time of the day. If you ever have internet, you just go to CatholicSpiritRadio.com and listen to us live anywhere, anytime. And so it's radio, but it's not just available on a radio set. I think that's important for people to know. But Judy, what do you think? Why do we need Catholic Spirit Radio? Why do we need Catholic radio in general everywhere in America?
Well, I always think back to Mark 1:17. Jesus is calling us to be fishers of men and to follow him and to get the truth about the gospel. And I think people want that, and they want that in their hearts. And I think Catholic radio is what can provide that for them. And I just think that our society is craving it and needs it. Not just our youth, everybody, the adults. I mean, we see what's happening in the world right now. So now more than ever, do we need to expand and get it out as far as we can. And that's why this transition to Catholic Spirit Radio is a blessing to me, because we're going to be able to reach more people. It's just awesome.
It is awesome.
Absolutely. And I mean, that you're so right. The world, even if they don't, especially in America, even if they don't know they need it, they need the word of God and the true Catholic teaching now more than ever. And the reason I say that is because a staple in everyone's life, it seems, in America, young people, especially, the younger you get, the more it seems to be the case. Anxiety is huge. Concern, depression, things like this. And that stems from a yearning for something that you don't have. People don't know exactly what that is. What is it that I feel empty? I feel there's something. You have a God-sized hole in your heart, is how I've heard it phrased. But also, I believe it was St. Francis or Saint someone else that said it perfectly. And it's, our hearts are restless until they rest in you, O Lord. And that is so true. Amen. There's the answer for the anxiety, the depression, the things that are plaguing Americans of all ages. So I think that's yet another reason why we need more Catholic Spirit Radio available all the time. And most importantly, if it's going to be everywhere and in your face and it's going to be good quality, it's got to have the right teachings. Because if people are going to consume it, it better be right and true. Peggy, we were talking about a little bit about the importance of, having the right, true teachings going out there in books, in the media, broadcast on the radio. But something else that people don't think about enough is it's not just for lack of trying that we're not doing that. There can also be some diabolical influences. Really, I mean, lukewarm Catholicism, or maybe people in great positions of power in the Catholic Church saying the wrong things, not saying enough, not speaking out enough against something. That can be, not saying that person is evil, but they might be bending to diabolical influences and persuasions. What do you, if I heard the story correct, it seems like you've had some run-ins maybe with the devil trying to stop you from doing what you're doing, maybe you and Judy even.
When we first started the radio station, I got sick. I was in the hospital. Judy had problems. Joan had heart problems. And it was just like we were trying to be stopped. We were trying to be discouraged. We were trying to be made to give up. And I know from other things that I've done with my faith, that's exactly what the devil likes to do. He likes to discourage you. He likes to throw stones, trip you over. He cannot stand the word of God. He cannot stand Jesus. He cannot stand Mary. And when you are promoting them, it's his nature to come against you.
Absolutely. And one thing that the devil does love is immediate gratification. And I see that so much in society today, from marriage even. The devil says, hey, just do whatever you want to do. I mean, if it makes you happy, go do it. I mean, we have a whole month dedicated to a deadly sin. And it's all surrounding the idea of whatever makes you happy, just go ahead and do it now. Whatever sounds good, go ahead and listen to it. Whatever sounds pleasing to you and justifies anything you're doing, go ahead and subscribe to that narrative, that idea. And there's so many radio stations, so many TV shows, so much out there that just says that says, hey, you're fine just the way you are. The world, they should change. Everyone should tell you exactly what you want to hear. We need more people saying, although it's sometimes an unpleasant truth of the Catholic Church, like, hey, you got to wait until you're married. Hey, maybe don't live together until then. That's insane to most people. But that is exactly the key to making this world much more like heaven on earth. You got to do the hard things to bring about the hard to come by results. And John, I want to ask you, we're talking about things that could make the future better. What are you going to do, or what is in the future for Catholic Spirit Radio and the Catholic Spirit Radio Network and the beautiful radio stations that have become a part of this great network? What are the plans, the hopes?
Paul, we just want to expand and do what the Lord wills, and that, we have more expansion plans for this year, God willing. The devil is fighting those, but I'm going to move forward and in faith, and God will take care of things.
Faith and trust.
That's right. Faith and trust. And we also have the help of all the generous, beautiful, wonderful Catholic people that listen to all of our shows and all of our different stations. And we thank you so much. If you're listening to this, you're one of them. And we have carathons that come up every year, a couple times, one time, two times. And hey, those help a lot too. And as we get to the end of this conversation, I want to ask maybe one more question here. And that's to you, Bill. And this is a bit random, but St. Pat's, you played basketball there against Bishop Fulton Sheen, soon to be a saint, I'm sure. Is that true? And what can you tell me about that? Because we love Bishop Fulton Sheen here. We've got a lot of his relics and notes and everything from him. Great man, soon to change the world once he becomes beatified. And you played basketball with them. Tell me about it.
It was championship. They were trying to train us, and they wanted to use adults to play against us and stuff. And Bishop Sheen just happened to be in town at that time. So,
and this was in Peoria
at St. Pat's. And so he's pretty tall, and I played center. So he got played directly against me, man on man.
So you probably bumped into him a few times.
We probably bumped into each other.
Man, there's got to be some grace associated with that. Anything else you can tell me from that time? Was he athletic? Did he actually play hard, or was he kind of just lollygagging?
No, he was serious. I guess he played basketball from the sounds of it. I remember he had long socks on that went all the way up to his knees. And I guess it was the style back then when he played, probably in the I don't know, 30s, 40s, whatever. But yeah, he'd come to the school. That was always interesting about Bishop Sheen. Whenever he showed up, he didn't go to the rectory or the church. His limousine always pulled up in front of the school, and the cameras and everything were all sitting outside just waiting for him. They knew he was going to land. So,
wow, that is amazing. And what year was this? Do you remember approximately?
It was in the 60s.
In the 60s.
Yeah.
A pivotal time in our nation, that's for sure. And Bishop Fulton Sheen, he was huge then.
Yeah, it was, I guess, number one entertainment on TV in the United States. So, yeah, the big cameras and stuff that nowadays, we take pictures on our cell phones. These things were the size of cars that were sitting outside when he pulled up. So,
wow, how amazing is that? And before we wind down here, is there anything you guys would like to say? Judy, Peggy, Bill, even you, John, anyone you'd like to thank? Because I know that, or anything like that.
I would like to thank, Peggy had mentioned Alan Drake and all his contributions, but Shirley Splitstozer was also a main contributor, besides all the parishes in our community that I just want to, from St. Patrick's, Holy Cross, all of them in our area have been very supportive, and we wouldn't have been on the air if it wouldn't have been for their donations.
Very nice. And Peggy, did you want to say anything?
Well, I want to say, if you hear God say something to you, He's got the plan. He's got the next step. He's got all the steps. He's just waiting for you to say, yes, Lord, I hear you and I will do what you ask.
Very nice. And in the words of Mother Angelica, I don't know how many people know this quote, but she said it and I really loved it. She said, don't be a wimp. That's simple. If God calls you to do something, do it. Don't be a wimp. Don't be scared. I think that's great advice. And thank you so much, Bill, Peggy, Judy, and John, for joining us today and sharing these wonderful stories. We really appreciate it. And thank you, all you listeners, for joining us and tuning in to Catholic Conversations here on Catholic Spirit Radio. Make sure to spread the word and invite others to listen on the radio, on the Catholic Spirit Talk Radio app, on Amazon Alexa, or online at CatholicSpiritRadio.com. Until next time, I'm your host, Paul Garcia, and may God bless you all with a great week.
You've been listening to Catholic Conversations. Download our podcasts at CatholicSpiritRadio.com.